right, Carrie, when you are ready, just let me know. Folks, anyone who is listening online, you're probably aware there's been a little issue with water. We're working on the details right now as to what happened and how quickly water will be restored, and power, I guess, in some cases. So it's still evolving. Thanks for bearing with us while we've delayed here a few minutes. All right, so we are officially delaying the start of our meeting here a few minutes. We are down a police chief, we are down a city administrator, we are down a public works director, and our head clerk dealing with the emergency of power and water outages. So stand by and we will be here with you shortly. There will be no singing, dancing, or beverages handed out. We don't have water, I'm sorry. Vern, if you'd like to bring a fire truck over, you have some backup there, right? Yeah, okay, well, give it about 15 minutes and we might need to, we can't use the toilets right now.
our building here in town. When we built our building.
Okay, so we're recording. This is live. So, oh, are you coming here or just visiting for a second? We're just gonna call it over and get this something here. Mine is not now. I just turned. Carrie, you said we'll be putting out an email shortly. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, it is 6:25. We're going to call this meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and are you going to hang out, Carrie? You're going to stay? I don't. Okay, if you could do a roll call for us, please, that'd be great.
Here.
Mrs. Rourke.
Here.
Mr. Whittington.
Here.
Mayor Norton.
Here.
Mr. White.
Noting Mr. White absent this evening. Next on the agenda, we will go to open public comments. If anyone is here that would like to speak, public comments, come on forward. You'll give you 3 minutes to speak. All right, moving on from public comments. Approval of the agenda. I have a couple items to amend here. One would be under new business, new number 7. This is a snowplow purchase from Public Works. Came in just after we got the agenda printed. And I'm just making sure Freedom Securities. We're going to amend and make another new business, I think number 8. So I'll look for a motion to approve those 2 additions under new business.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. We have a
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? All in favor of amending the agenda? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. The new 7 will be snowplow and number 8 on Freedom Security. Those of you, if you are tuning in on our live feed, just know we are going to get some information out to you shortly regarding the power outage that has affected a lot of us, and then the water outage that is affecting just about everybody, I think.
7 and 8 are.
Yeah, so new number 7 under new business is the snowplow purchase. And then number 8 is regarding Freedom Security. I'll walk through that if Jennifer is not available yet. Okay, next item, we're going to ask for someone to approve or make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our July 10th meeting. I would like to make that motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion regarding last month's minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of approving last minute meetings?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, consent agenda is next on our topics tonight. I want to call out a couple of things here. Number 8 is resignation of Jerry Haber from Public Works. We want to thank Jerry for many years of service to us. Wish him luck in future endeavors. And then number 9, this is not waiving the statutory tort limit. Any questions, comments, anything else we'd like to set aside to discuss on consent agenda? Okay, I'll look for a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion on consent agenda? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, we'll now open for public hearing. Interim ordinance prohibiting the sale, testing, manufacturing, cultivating, growing, transporting, delivery, and distribution of cannabis products in the city of Eagle Lake. Say that a few times really fast. Anyone? We don't have anyone signed up to speak. Mayor Oranger, would you like to speak on this one? Great, thank you.
And then just so you know, Xcel Energy says power in your area has been restored.
Wonderful.
I'm Tim Oranger, 405 Perry Street. Just one question for you in regard to the moratorium. Is this plan to be just for commercial users or private users? So if, let's say, a resident had plants growing in his garden, is this moratorium stopping that?
I don't know that I can really speak to this, but I feel like private use is not something we can limit. This is commercial activity.
Well, I think
Is it
that,
not?
I think the law has a, I don't know for sure, but I think the law has the amount that one person can grow.
Yeah.
So I saw in the language of the moratorium, the moratorium on growing. So I didn't know whether that was a commercial facility, like a grow house, or
Or
if
private.
we're gonna be knocking on
Right.
people's doors, checking for plants in people's houses. That was, I guess, my question on the moratorium.
That is a great question.
Yeah, as you read through it, it doesn't really distinguish it. It just says grow.
I think our intent on the moratorium is to take time to study the commercial aspect. I believe that's our intent in the moratorium. Is that?
I didn't really think of it from a personal aspect, I guess. I just,
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think it would be a good item to bring back to the city attorney just for clarification, because I don't think any of us up here knows for sure.
I think if a person was doing a commercial, I think that there's details in there, and I just heard this briefly on the radio, but I think that there's details in there, like if you're going to be doing, a person can only do X amount of plants in their house.
Correct.
So then, therefore, once you get to the next level, then you basically will be a dealer. But beyond that, I don't know.
That was just clarification for my part. I know if the state law says you can have 8 plants for personal use, are we now all of a sudden creating an illegality amongst?
I think it's a good clarification we need to get in there before we go forward, yeah.
Because they probably already have them cooking.
Yeah. They're in the hopper.
So that was just my question.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I mean, really our intent, I'm just looking through our packet and exactly how we worded it. And we've scheduled this to consider adopting an interim ordinance relating to cannabis businesses. So if there's some clarification in the interim in the moratorium that we need to do, great. But our intent, at least my understanding, I think everyone up here is, this is really about business, not about personal use. I default to state law on that one, on
but
personal.
if the person is selling it, then that's now a business.
Correct. That's commercial.
Yeah,
No.
Well, they're in trouble either way then.
there's no way to
Right.
really sell it till 2025, so.
Yeah. Well, I hope that fuzzily answers your question, because, but we'll take that back to our city attorney and verify that. Thank you. Any other comments, questions for public? We're not even on public. Yes, we are. No, we're not. We are in public hearing. We're frazzled with no water and power tonight. Okay, I'm going to close then on public hearing, and we're going to move on to presentations. Darren Lee with Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities, thank you so much. I know you need to be in Madison Lake. Thanks for sticking with us.
That's quite all right.
Welcome.
So, again, I'm Darren Lee with the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities. Thank you for having me. It's very interesting to be here. Quite an exciting night. I did have a slide presentation that I was going to give, but I know your city administrator has more important business right now than getting my slideshow ready. So I'll do this a little bit more informally.
There's very few things more important than the slideshow, but water might.
So I'll just do this a little bit more informally and just work off of my notes here, if that's all right.
That'd be great.
So I did hand out some materials because there's so much that happened in the session this year. We just kind of like to go out and talk to our cities about our member cities about what happened during the legislative session. So that's the purpose of this visit. And there's so much that happened that when we first ran sort of narrow it down. So that's why I have some supplemental materials that I put on your table there. The first thing is our session report, which sort of gives you a recap. And then inside of there, we have our legislative outcomes that we we're tracking what happened. The next one is LGA, and then it shows the city of Eagle Lake on there and what current law was, and then what the change is based on the new law. And then we have public safety aid is the next one there. That's a new program this year, and I'll get to a little bit of that, but there's more details there. And then our labor and employee relations program, and then a couple of save the dates for upcoming events. So if I don't get to it, there's a good chance there might be a little bit more information in there if you're interested.
Great.
So just a reminder about the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities. We're an organization that represents cities outside the metro area. We've got over 100 members. We're the only organization that advocates for local governments outside the metro. And some of the major things that we work on policy-wise is local government aid, which I mentioned a minute ago, environment and energy policy, transportation, annexation and land use, and labor and employment. Some of our top priorities this year was we were asking for $150 million in local government aid as an increase, a bonding bill, which of course includes a lot of infrastructure projects, including water facility. Child care was one, BDPI, business development, public infrastructure. We also this year worked on a bill for funding for lead service line replacement, which I'll get to later. And then funding for city streets of all sizes. And one thing, I don't have anything on this later, so I'll just mention it now. Small city streets, what's new this year is ongoing funding for cities under 5,000. Previously, that was just money that was put in the bonding bill, and so if there wasn't money funded, nothing happened. Now there's going to be dedicated funding for that, and that's through the delivery fee that's been implemented, and then tap fees. And then we had workforce housing was another one that we worked on. So coming into the session, sort of big picture wise, there was a lot of priorities out there. There was our priorities, CGMC, the Democrats' priorities, and then other interest groups. And it was kind of sort of after the dust settled, we had some pretty good outcomes, we thought, for our cities. The Republican priorities were not really taken into account because they were in the minority, of course, in the House and the Senate. So that wasn't really factored into it to account for the priorities of the legislature. The budget, we started out with $17.5 billion surplus, I should say, billion, with a B. And then in the second biennium, it was about $22.5 million. And about 5 or 6 of that was ongoing money, and the rest of it is one-time money. So a ridiculous amount of money to spend, or use for tax cuts. And then sort of what was different about this session from other sessions is just the speed of the legislation and the amount of hearings and the amount of bills, just because with one-party control of everything, there was really not a lot of backstop or roadblocks for anything. And another challenge was that the metro area, a lot of the DFL members come from the metro area, so it was difficult to sort of get a voice for Greater Minnesota at the legislature. One of the things we did was work with the agencies and the governor to kind of sort of get their assistance on sort of mitigating some of the overreach. And so that was really the only backstop there was for us to kind of prevent some of the overreach that we thought was going to be harmful for economic development. So in addition to the $150 million increase for LGA, we're asking for an update to the formula, which is something that we do every 10
say, does it follow census,
Yeah,
like the year after?
the census, usually that's taken a look at, and then it's adjusted just to make sure that the formula is still reflecting sort of the needs of different cities. And then also, there was an inflation adjustment that we were asking for to be factored in, so that we don't have to go back to the legislature every year to ask for an increase. The first two, we did get an increase. It was 80 million, not the 150 that we wanted, but 80 million was still pretty good, we thought. And then we got the formula change, and then the inflation adjustment did not happen. That just didn't make it through the negotiations. But if you're interested in more on the formula, it's on the other side of one of the handouts. The details of that, it's pretty technical.
Is that something that's gonna be taken up, as a agenda item for next legislative session? Are you
Well,
gonna
the
be
formula
pushing for that?
change, the formula update did happen, but we will go back to.
Or the
talk about
inflation adjustment, I'm sorry.
Yep, we will go back again and try to get the inflation adjustment
Okay.
next year. So that gives us something to lobby for next year.
Yes,
So, and
like
then-
you have nothing else to do, right, yeah.
Right. So then on the local government aid, that's part of the tax bill typically, and there was only a $3 billion allocation for the tax bill. And so we were kind of competing against some other priorities such as walls checks, public safety aid, housing aid, child tax credits was a big priority for the legislature this year. There was a lot of money put into that. I will mention on the public safety aid, which is mentioned in your handout, Eagle Lake's getting $143,621 out of that. Unlike LGA though, that has to be used for just public safety purposes, police and fire, so forth.
Yeah, that will be very helpful.
Good, good.
Yeah.
I know some cities are able to use that better than others, but, you know, the nice thing about that is if you, even though you have to use it on public safety, it still frees up the LGA for something else, so.
Yeah, it'll be instrumental right now, just with current staffing shortages and public safety. I mean, our police department, we're very lucky that we have Blue Earth County able to help us, so, but it's,
Sure.
there's a price tag to it, so that's gonna be
Yeah.
very, very helpful.
Recruitment and retention is something that
Yeah.
can be used for as well for police officers. But back to LGA, I will mention what the governor came out with was a $30 million increase in LGA is what he had been asking for originally. We put out a statement saying that that was totally insufficient, inadequate. He subsequently raised that up to 40 million. So he did come up a little bit after his initial 30 million that he put out. I will go to, so I had a chart here, but CGMC was asking for 150 million and then, and I can send this to you too afterwards.
Yeah, I
And
think
then
that'd be great, and we can we'll get it out on our, could we put it on the website, Carrie, just so,
We can ask Jennifer.
yeah,
Jennifer has it, and so
Yeah.
maybe she can email it around too. But the final outcome was basically, it wasn't as much as we wanted, but it was more than the governor had asked for and the Senate had asked for. The House was at 100 million, the governor and the Senate were at 40, and we ended up at 80. So, not bad.
Mhm.
And then, on your chart there, it shows specifically for Eagle Lake, which is right here. So it looks like you were at 700,000 and you're going up to 750,000, so a little bit of a bump, not bad. Bonding was another one, so I'll just talk a little bit, a couple of things on bonding and then a couple of things on environment. Bonding bill sort of took a weird path this year. We hadn't had a bonding bill in 2021 or 2022, and this is an area where the Republicans could exert a little bit of leverage because you need 60% of the vote to pass a bonding bill. It's in the Constitution to borrow. And the Senate has a 34-33 balance right now. So 7 Republicans would have had to vote for a bill. They were initially saying they were not going to support a bonding bill until tax cuts took place. And specifically they wanted exemption from state income tax on Social Security income. That was the big thing they wanted. Then they said they wanted significant relief, and So those are the things they were asking for in exchange for voting for a bonding bill. In mid-March, the first attempt at a bonding bill failed. Then there wasn't really a whole lot of activity on it. It kind of went away for a little while until sort of the last week of session. And then there was a flurry of activity, and the Democrats threatened to pass an all-cash bill, which would have been much worse for Greater Minnesota. It would have directed vast majority of the funds towards the metro area, because again, that's where their constituency is. So we sent a strongly worded letter to the Senate Republicans telling them that it's time to get a bonding bill passed. Eventually, negotiations took place. The Republicans they weren't able to get any of the tax cuts that they had originally asked for, but they were able to get $300 million in additional funding for nursing homes. So I think that was sort of the way that the deal got done. They were able to sort of save face, if you will, say that they got something and vote for a bonding bill. And it ended up being the largest bonding bill in Minnesota state history. So it was like $1.5 billion in borrowing and then $1.1 billion in cash. And of course, that includes all different things. That includes Public Facilities Authority money, BDPI money, Greater Minnesota housing infrastructure. So a lot of our top priorities, local roads and bridges, those are all in there. So, and then child care facilities. So, and I got the numbers on that too. And that's it also in your outcomes there, that first chart that you've got there.
Mhm.
there.
That's the 900,000.
Yes, that's for facilities, but then there's also
The
I believe
deed.
13 million. Yes, that's a deed program, which can be used for other things besides just facilities. It could be training, various other things.
And the other 6 million initiative foundations to support providers.
Yes,
That-
that's another one. So that's similar to the deed program, that it just goes through the initiative foundations. Just the mandate there is just to support anything to support the increasing quality and quantity of childcare, because the
Right.
shortages are such a big issue,
They sure are.
which it also is related to the economy and economic development too. So.
Yeah.
Just a couple things on environment, the lead pipes bill, we got $240 million for that. We're asking for $900 million. I don't know if that's an issue for your city, but in a lot of cities it is. There's gonna have to be mapping done that the EPA is requiring of all cities by I think October of 2024.
We've applied for assistance with the mapping.
You have,
Yeah, we
Okay,
have. We
sure.
have, or we're about to hit send on it, so we're
okay.
ready to do that, to do the mapping study, or inventory assistance,
Yes.
whatever that program is
Yep.
called.
And then depending on what that shows,
Yeah.
there's gonna be money available through the Minnesota Department of Health, if you put together a plan and apply. There's funding that's available based on their priority list and the criteria that they use. And that money covers the homeowner portion as well. So,
Yeah,
which is
it's-
important.
yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, because a lot of homeowners, don't wanna spend the money to do their portion up to the house, so they'll be
Right.
right away and cover the private portion as well, so that's big. Just a couple last things on environment, and then I will let you get on with the rest of your agenda. We had 80 million in point source implementation grants, 87 million for water infrastructure fund, 41 million in federal matching funds, and then in the bonding agreement, there's also 262 million for local projects in Greater Minnesota City, in Greater Minnesota. There's also a few proposals that we had to play defense on environment, sort of a cumulative environmental analysis that was put forward. There was a couple of other proposals on sort of pollution control agency, citizen council, some things that would have hampered economic development, which may make sense in the metro area, in places that are sort of like, that historically borne the brunt of pollution and so forth. But for Greater Minnesota, it just doesn't make sense. And so those were some things that we were able to narrow the scope of next year, looking ahead, it's traditionally a bonding year, so there could be another bonding bill. There could still be a surplus, depending on how the forecast comes back, so there could be additional policy. I expect that they're gonna be fixing a lot of things that, were sort of done too fast this year, that weren't given enough vetting, that they'll realize that they need to do some cleanup on. And then there could be a couple of constitutional amendments that are on the ballot, potentially, depending on if the legislature decides they want to do that on like equal rights or abortion. There'll be something on the environmental trust fund extending that. That will for sure be on the ballot. That's the lottery money for clean water. So that'll be one that will be on the ballot. And then I'll just mention, we've got our fall conference in November in Wilmer. We'd love to have you come. There'll be a lot of good, more information. This is just a little bit of what happened, and then there'll be a lot more. So a lot more detail if you're interested. And then our legislative action day next year is March 20th in St. Paul. So we'd love to have you come to the Capitol for that and help us
I
lobby.
thought I saw the save the date in
Yes.
there. Yes,
So
very helpful.
that's all I've got. If there's any questions, I'm happy to try and answer questions.
I do have one. I don't know if this is really in your wheelhouse. It's very specific to the lead lines, but do you know if there are any cities or is there any talk of, kind of doing some of this in tandem? I know we are, the city-owned water pipe, like the pipes and stuff, but then you have from city to the house. I know there's going to be funding for that covered by the state, like you were saying, but it seems like if we're going to be tearing it up down, Thomas Drive, does it make sense to do the city portion and, to the house at the same time? It
Yes.
just,
So as part of the application process, they're gonna be taking into account sort of various things. That's one thing. Doing it in conjunction with other things, like if you had other infrastructure or that you were ripping up the roads for, whatever, putting in the sidewalk, I don't know, redoing the road. If you're already gonna be doing that, it would make sense to do it the way that's most economical, do it all at once rather than rip everything up twice. So that's part of the application process. And then another piece of criteria there is, if it's for a school or a daycare or somewhere where children are, because they're more impacted by lead in water, that's going to be taken into account. And whether you can sort of do a whole project and do everything in the city at once rather than piece by piece, that's all going to be how they're going to take that into consideration when they rank the priority projects. So, the short answer is yes. So.
thank you. Any other questions from council, Mr. Lee? All right, well, thank you very much. I appreciate you being
Thanks
here.
again
I
for
hope you
having
get
me,
to
and
Madison Lake on time.
I hope you get your water situation figured out.
We hope so too. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next agenda item, Greater Mankato growth. Great timing. Glad you guys are here. If you want to come up, and I don't know if you heard, we're having a little bit of a power and water crisis. So just anyone who is listening on the live stream, I haven't had any updates since the last one, other than it sounds like the power will be restored. The power portion by around 8 o'clock tonight is what we heard. As far as water, there's going to be a boil advisory coming out shortly with some information. As soon as we have those details, they'll be posted out on the website. So we will keep updating throughout our meeting here as we know more, and probably take a short recess after this one just to see if we have more information. So we're a little bit of a hot mess tonight, but we're happy you're here. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Sorry that you're going through this. We had no idea. We came from the office.
Yeah, just don't use the bathrooms. I'm just kidding.
So, Mayor, council members, thank you for allowing us to be here this evening. And by any means, with what you have going on, if you need to interrupt or whatnot, we completely understand. So, my name is Jessica Beyer, and I serve as President and CEO of Greater Mankato Growth Inc. So we're here this evening, first and foremost, to thank you. We really appreciate the opportunity to partner with the City of Eagle Lake among all of our Regional Economic Development Alliance partners, which includes us as well. And so we thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight, and we're going to share a little bit more about our organization, the work we're doing as part of the Alliance, and information that we have about the Joint Services Agreement. We met with the EDA recently. I think that was last week or the week before.
Yep.
And obviously we keep in close communication with the staff of Eagle Lake and the representatives, so Olivia, Jennifer, and others. So appreciate it. Nice to see you too, Carrie. So we'll get going with the presentation. Just a little bit about, and you should have all of this information, so each of you have packets, and we put slides for the presentation that we're going through in there.
I apologize. We're having missing human difficulties, so we're not going to get it up on the TV here in the room.
That's okay.
But
We roll with the punches, and you each have a copy of the slides if you'd like to follow along. We also included additional information just about our organization. There's also a copy of the most recent Regional Economic Development Alliance annual report, which we will be coming out with another one of those here in early October when we have our annual meeting, which you are all invited to, and then just some other supplemental information that you can take a look at and make sure that you're included on all the upcoming activities. So just as we kick off the presentation, Ryan is going to cover really the meat of the presentation, but I'm just going to talk a little bit about Greater Mankato Growth, Inc. And so I know many of you are familiar with us, but really our organization, we have a family of business units that includes 4 entities, and really our whole mission is to support and promote the economic growth and vitality of the regional marketplace. And so we do that through 4 pillars of work. That is business growth and development, talent growth, retention and attraction, regional livability, and then advocacy of the marketplace. And so we carry out this work. Greater Mankato Growth serves as the Regional Chamber of Commerce. We have over 900 members, and Eagle Lake is part of that. Also, Greater Mankato Growth serves as the Economic Development Organization, and that includes the alliance that Eagle Lake is part of. And so then we also have Visit Mankato, which serves for economic development and really that visitor attraction. There's leisure, sporting events, really hotel, so really bringing in the visitors to the region. And then we have City Center Partnership focused on downtown development, so really making sure the Greater Mankato region has a strong downtown presence to attract people and have livability for communities in the surrounding areas. And then also Green Seam. So Green Seam is our largest geographic region, and that touches southern Minnesota and focuses on the agricultural assets of the region. We have many different, even beyond production, we have a number of different industries, including manufacturing, banking, others that really focus on that ag sector, and so capitalizing on that economic development related in that area. So also in your slides, you can see we have a team of professionals that are here to support the Economic Development Alliance. So you see myself as part of our leadership team, but also Andy, our Executive Vice President, Sam Ziegler, Director of Green Seam, and Ashley White serve in that leadership capacity and contribute to taking part in Regional Economic Development Alliance meetings and activities. And then we also have Ryan Vesey, who is, again, that primary contact for the work. And is really managing the economic development needs and all of the different nuances with the partnership. We also have an intern, Yusuf, who's part of the team and helping with business retention visits as well as other livability and recruitment campaigns. And then you can see we have a whole staff that supports, through administration, whether that's helping with grants, marketing and communications, as well as programs and services that support our integrated team. So at this time, I'm going to turn things over to Ryan to talk more specifically about the Economic Development Alliance and some of the work that the partnership focuses on. Ryan?
thank you.
Awesome, thank you. So for reference, I'm on this slide right here. So in
Is it the
2000
Rita partnership slide?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So in 2009, a group of cities got together and said, we can do economic development better as a region rather than in competition with one another. And so these communities, including both counties, formed the Regional Economic Development Alliance. And the idea is that we can represent ourselves as a region that has 103,000 people living in it. And we can be more competitive on a statewide and even a national scale by advertising all the benefits that we have as a region and then the unique strengths that exist in each community. One thing that I wanted to highlight with the partnership is that our core focus areas of business retention and expansion, new enterprise and emerging business development, new business development, and marketplace enhancements closely match the core focus areas of Greater Mankato Growth, Inc. So there's a lot of synergy between the work that we're doing and the organization as a whole. Moving to the strategic activity highlights, but before I get in there, I want to explain how we decide what our strategic activities will be. So each year, twice a year, the Regional Economic Development Alliance has an advisory committee composed of one staff member and one elected official from each community, or one public official from each community. So for Eagle Lake, that's Jim Beal, and then Jennifer Groenland is the staff representative. In either November or December, depending on when the meeting takes place, we determine what is going to be the core working priority for the next year. So beginning at the end of 2021, we began to see the trend that the unemployment rate was taking before we got to where we saw in 2022, where we had the lowest unemployment rate in the nation. And having such a low unemployment rate and having filled most of our industrial space, we knew that we had to make a shift in how we were conducting economic development. So we took away the early priority that we had placed on primarily finding industrial economic development and said, we're going to look at how can we help businesses with their workforce needs, how can we help with resident attraction, and how can we help new businesses start. And you'll see a lot of that as you look at our strategic activities over these last few years. So to begin with, as I noted, one of our core focuses was helping with the workforce shortage. To help with this, we launched a new website, GreaterMankatoTalent.com, that has a toolbox that employers can use to help them both hire and retain staff. And we run KYC ads to help them find those. We also launched a workforce resources newsletter, which at this point has over 800 employers receiving information on it, where we highlight events that they can participate in, opportunities to engage with the school district, and we've been able to get information out to them that way. We've also begun to do resident recruitment. And we started this with some billboard campaigns targeting at the Twin Cities Metro, using slogans like your drive time is our family time, or your rush hour is our happy hour, as we tried to help identify that the average person in the Twin Cities drives an extra 60 hours a year compared to the average person in the Greater Mankato area. That's a week and a half of PTO they're missing out on that they could get if they came down here. We've continued to do resident recruitment ads, and I'll highlight some more of those in the next page, targeted at the South Metro and St. Cloud. But before I get there, I wanted to highlight how we do help secure some business development from outside. So first, we're focusing on some entrepreneurial support. We help with 1 Million Cups. That program helps new entrepreneurs who would like to share their story and get feedback from an audience of people present. So we have that once a month. We held an event in Eagle Lake about a year and a half ago. Sorry for that mistake there. And then we also helped launch the Tapestry Project Entrepreneur Series. That series was designed around helping immigrants and refugees start a business in the United States. Oftentimes we found that these individuals had run a business in the countries that they were from and needed to get a better understanding of the laws and culture surrounding running a successful business here in the United States. We also help respond to RFPs that we get in from the state of Minnesota, filling out all of the information that we're able to get to help ease the burden on the cities that are taking part. With advocacy of the marketplace, we help promote the needs of the communities in our area. We helped advocate Lake to keep this area as a metropolitan statistical area, which allows us to continue to compete. And one of the larger things we've done in the last year is we helped secure a grant of $1.9 million through the Main Street Economic Revitalization Program. And when we got that grant, we made sure that each one of the cities in our RETA partner communities was able to take advantage of that program. So we included all of Highway 14 going into downtown Eagle Lake, and we were able to award a $70,000 grant to Freedom Security and Surveillance for their upcoming new building here in Eagle Lake. So looking into our resident recruitment campaigns, as I noted, we've had over 3 million impressions during our billboard campaigns. We also designed 2 ad campaigns with KUIC. One of these ads was targeted, both of them were targeted at families with kids in the ages of 0 through 12, getting to that age where they might decide to relocate to a smaller community from somewhere like the metro area. One was targeted about the urban amenities of the region, understanding if you were in St. Cloud or the South Metro because you wanted that environment, you could still get some of that here. And another focused on the rural amenities of the region, being able to go fishing, being able to go biking with your kids. We found that when we looked at the YouTube ads that we had there, and people have an option to skip those, 2/3 of the time, especially in the South Metro, they were watching our ad to completion, which shows that there's an interest in moving to a community like this. One of our larger focus areas over the past 3 years has been designing a new comprehensive website for our region. To help design this, we've had multiple meetings with site selectors from both the Chicago and the Minneapolis markets to identify what is it that you want to see when you're looking at an economic development website, and we've made sure to incorporate that. We've also made sure to incorporate our resident recruitment goals. So the website is designed around the idea that first you're going to find out what can I do in the greater Mankato area, what can I do for fun, why should I visit? Then, why should I live here? What are my opportunities for living here? Where can I find a house? Then we look at, okay, how can I invest here? You know, I've lived here, is it time for me to start a business? And that's all designed to be encompassed in one website rather than what we had before where we had all of these different business units with their own website and you need to travel to 3 websites to find something to do. So what is Eagle Lake contributing towards this work that we're doing? In 2023, Eagle Lake has contributed $7,188. Now, over the past year and a half, we've been working with all of the RETA partner communities on some changes to the joint services agreement. The existing one ends on December 31st of this year. Historically, we've signed 3-year partnership agreements. As we got into the discussion between the communities for this current one, the conversation came that we've had the rates in place since 2012, where the city of Mankato was paying twice the per capita rate of the other communities, and the partners decided that they wanted to change these rates. So over the course of the last year and a half, working with everyone, the partners came together and decided on a new rate structure where each city by 2029 would be paying the same per capita rate, shifted to a 6-year agreement to allow this shift to take place over a longer period of time. I wanted to highlight what this would look like for Eagle Lake. So when Eagle Lake first hit the $2.19 per capita rate in 2012, that rate was 0.95% of Eagle Lake's levy. With some pretty quick population growth, that rose to being 1.1% of Eagle Lake's levy in 2018. And then as the levy rate began to outpace population growth, that's dropped to about 0.8% in 2022. I'm estimating 0.77% in 2023. With the rate adjustments that were included in the new JSA, that would increase back to 0.99% in 2029, so still below where Eagle Lake was from 2016 until 2019. In addition to the per capita rate discussions, there were some new language adjustments that highlighted workforce development as a core focus area of the partnership, that highlighted some of the rules for how the communities interact when it comes to industrial developments, moving from potentially one community to another, and some language clarifications related to how the RETA partnership sits on the board seat with GMG's other business units having just the chair on the board, the JSA was adjusted, so the chair of RITA will sit on the GMG board, not both the chair and the vice chair. So how does these funds that Eagle Lake is contributing leverage outside resources? For every dollar that's contributed by the city of Eagle Lake, there's an additional $100.32 that's contributed by the other RITA partner communities and by GMG's investing level members. And so how are we using these funds? Well, one of the key areas where we're using these funds is subscriptions to our economic development tools. We subscribe to over $35,000 in different tools that each community would otherwise need to purchase for themselves. These tools help us with things ranging from being able to provide resource to businesses looking at the area, helping them know what the population is within a certain drive time as they're making decisions on who they might be able to hire or what their store might be able to support. We were able to secure a business with another tool that helped them understand, based on the pay rate that they were paying and the types of employees they wanted to hire, how many people were there that were making more than that in the region, how many were making less, so they knew if they could be competitive. Another tool allows us to look at people who frequent a place of business or live in a community to get an idea of what their demographics are, how often they're there, where they live and where they work. And we were able to do this to help Jennifer answer a question she's been wondering for a while, which is where do the majority of residents of Eagle Lake work? Looking through this tool, we were able to determine about 42% of Eagle Lake residents work in the city of Mankato, followed shortly by the city of North Mankato, and then Eagle Lake is third on that list. Another area where we spend these funds is with some direct spends. We participate in a program called Community Venture Network that's designed to help us connect with businesses that want to locate outside of a larger metropolitan area. Through this, we were able to meet with Cabin Coffee, which we made an introduction to the city of Eagle Lake. At this time, they're more interested in finding someone who would be interested in franchising with them before they decide to invest in the community. They're not going to open a corporate store at this time. We also participate in the site location partnership, where we help schedule about 8 meetings with site selectors every year. Then a large portion of our funds is in targeted marketing, primarily focused as resident recruitment, as I highlighted earlier. And then the most important area is the human capital, all of the individuals who do the work to make the partnership happen and make economic development happen in the region. And finally, what's the ROI on this? Well, for every $1 contributed by our public partners in 2021, there's $198 in private capital investment in the region. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
The City of Eagle Lake contributes $7,188 for 2023.
Yep.
Is there a way that we can understand how that money comes back here to Eagle Lake, not just to the region?
Maybe you guys can touch on what projects RITA has helped Eagle Lake
Yeah.
years. I know there's a couple that have happened and are in the works too.
Yeah.
So I think the most present in mind would be the Freedom, Security, and Surveillance project that we're helping with right now. Helping them secure $70,000 comes close to about almost 10 years of RITA membership for Eagle Lake. And we hope to continue to support projects like that. We've also offered a lot of direct support to the city. I've only been here since the beginning of 2020. And so since that time, we help provide resources to businesses in the community, calling every member business that we have in the area, and reaching out to every restaurant, whether or not they were members, to help them understand the restaurant revitalization program that existed, help them understand the PPP programs, how they could help support their staff during the COVID-19 pandemic. Also opening a page specifically designed around supporting local businesses. That's got 10,000 members now, focused on how can people support the businesses that exist in the region.
In Eagle Lake or in the region?
So that's going to be region-wide, but any businesses in the area can participate. It's an opportunity for people to share their great experiences that they've had at a restaurant in the area. Our purpose as an organization is to promote the regional assets that we have. So everything we do, we make sure that we're promoting everything region-wide. By participating, we're making sure that opportunities exist for businesses that aren't just in Mankato. That's why we have the partnership. But our core focus area is promoting what we have throughout the entire area. As a result, when people come to look at a regional website that we have, they're able to see that the available industrial properties that we have, we're able to highlight the former microtrack building and help make sure that we're finding a user for that.
Yeah, so, when we spoke to the EDA, we talk, and so we consult with the staff quite a bit too, and so making sure that we are working in tandem with them if there's questions or technical expertise, making sure that there is knowledge about different grants and opportunities, even how to utilize ARPA funds is one of the topics we brought to the group that Eagle Lake was able to take part of, and so we have a wide variety of resources that we provide, and Eagle Lake is able to take part of that. I know we're in constant communication with Jennifer and Olivia. When Ryan mentions the website, we are working with staff so that specific information about Eagle Lake and whatnot is presented as part of, yes, we have a regional focus, but we also are able to promote Eagle Lake and the different pieces that they have individually.
Great, thank you.
And Tim, you might know the answer to this because you used to sit on Rita, right? Or sit with that, or Mapo. Maybe I'm thinking Mapo. Okay, so this is say because I think some of those helped with some of the projects that we bring in for some of the sidewalk projects and stuff like that too. But maybe I'm getting Rita and Maples mixed up with.
Well, NACO is a separate entity, but we do work very collaboratively, and so if there's letters of support or there's data or research, when Ryan talks about these different tools, whether it's for businesses or for public entities or groups like NACO, we are able to provide supportive information. We also do a lot of the reports when you're watching KYC about, some of the deed reports and how that drills down to our communities and our region. That's happening through our research and development. And so like writing letters of support or providing some of the information or economic impact, even the counties utilize some of that information, which in turn Eagle Lake's part of Duluth County too. That's all part of it.
Okay. Yeah, that helps a lot. It's just, it's over $7,000 is a lot of money. I want to be able to explain, make sure our residents really understand where's that dollar going, how does it impact them. It's not just something we're spending into, right?
Yeah, and that's, I guess, another, just noted letters of support. So an example of one of those, when Eagle Lake applied for a small town grant to cover the cost of doing the new comprehensive plan, we wrote a letter of support to support that grant application. And then we were able to also work with both Region 9 directly and with Jennifer to help come with feedback that was incorporated into that comprehensive plan. So we were doing some work on that.
Yeah, I know there's a lot. And, maybe I'm just more in tune to some of the things too, or, the council maybe in general, but I just think it's something for the residents just to really understand what Eagle Lake businesses, what Eagle Lake projects, I know they're there, but, I would love to see something that really outlines Eagle Lake's benefits,
Yes, and so we can provide examples of that as well, but for the marketing and promotion, the alliance, and part of that, a huge opportunity for that is what we're able to leverage with these resources together, what we wouldn't be able to do as individual organizations. And so it's important that we have these specific examples, which Ryan touched on, and we can maybe provide further, but also that whole, us being the organization that's really coordinating and watching that bigger picture, so we So we're fortunate that we have the Alliance collaboration, but then also within our organization, that's very unique because we have an integrated team who's in the same office working together, and we can be really effective and efficient because we're sharing and collaborating.
So they came into the EDA meeting and presented, and one of the things that we were talking about is how do we show value of that $7,000? I think so, as we work through the rest of this year, as we look through this contract, how do we, propose that value moving forward? One of the things I'm kind of disappointed in is with Mankato, North Mankato being the largest, now we're on equal cost footing, but they're going to reap the most benefits. So I think we'll have to talk about that as we go through. That's probably why it was kind of skewed 2-to-1 before, is because, they were seeing the most value. And knowing that being part of a regional project like this is I think, really good for us, because we don't want to be left out, for one thing. And there are some good tools, and now with Olivia starting, I think we'll see some more benefits that we have somebody directly working with them, as opposed to, oh, yeah, we can use that resource, kind of thing, so.
I think there's a wealth of opportunities for continued engagement, and we're excited for all of that.
I want to point out one of them, in the annual report too, sometimes we always get stuck on city businesses and city stuff, but, as I read number 17, where they joined a MAPS task force designed to determine strategies to capitalize on the district's strengths and increase enrollment. I mean, we have to keep that in mind too, of what our school means to us and how that can help increase enrollment, which increases people coming to the city, all of those pieces. So it's not always, I always want to get my mind stuck on the businesses, and it's sometimes more than business.
With this type of partnership, I see it as you're going to see more indirect value than direct value. So, so there is could be a lot of missing if we weren't part of it as we move forward. So.
So Jessica just asked if I can talk about where we're at in the joint services agreement process.
Perfect.
So we've been going to every community with the goal of going to all of the communities that are seeing the increase in rates prior to going to the Mankato City Council, which is the only community seeing the decrease with that parity between them. So far we've been to both counties, and then the cities of St. Peter, Lake Crystal, and North Mankato. And all of those communities have approved the agreement. So coming up next is, I think Eagle Lake is slated to have the council review it on September 11th, with the EDA earlier on August 24th, I think. And then following that, we'll get the approval from the city of Mankato.
And our board.
Yep.
Our board needs to approve as well.
And then one other note, just to bring up something that was on the EDA meeting. So for the core focus for the RETA partnership for the first 12 years of its existence, it's actually written into the joint services agreement that our focus is production and manufacturing, with the communities focused on commercial and residential. We've seen some shifts just because of where we're at in the community. But the idea behind that is that the work that we do in the production and manufacturing area will benefit communities with their ability to grow their residential areas because we have jobs. So we do think that Eagle Lake got a lot of indirect benefits through the work that we did over those 12 years, but now we've started to try to focus on how can we help in those other areas as well. One thing that came up with in the EDA on how can the city position itself to receive some more of those direct benefits, and it came to, if the city wants to make some strategic decisions on proactively identifying some industries that it would like to see east of town. We've received numerous requests where the rail access is important, but in general these have been large ag users or biorefineries. And if the city were to make a public decision, pass a resolution to say this is what we'd like to see in this area, it would be very competitive for those projects. And if it's not something the city would like to see, to make a similar resolution on what would it like to see. So let's say only distribution would be considered for that area. That would be good to have a public statement from an elected body so that we can better advertise that land as we get these RFPs coming in.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments from council?
Well, we sincerely appreciate your time. If you think of something, please don't hesitate to reach out. Our contact information is included. And again, it's been a pleasure, and we wish you the best with everything going on.
Thank you very much, both of you, for being here tonight and for this information. And I know you've put a lot of time and been helping with EDA, and I know I'm really excited. I know we all are to see what happens in the future. I know having Olivia here is going to help immensely with that too. So
She's
Yeah.
been incredible, and she's been attending regional planning and a lot of different pieces, and so just know that she's been doing a great job.
great, wonderful to hear. Thank you. Do we want to take a short break and just check in on things? And yeah, okay, all right. So let's come back here at 35 after. I was literally gonna wait, like, sure, how could dork. Oh. All right, volume's back on, we're back online. I think Jennifer's gonna be joining us, so that is wonderful news. And residents, if anyone is tuning in, you haven't seen it yet, it sounds like we have power back on. Water's working again, but we are under a boil alert. Am I saying that correctly? A boil alert, so you're good to shower, but any cooking, brushing your teeth, any drinking, water needs to be boiled, I believe. Yeah, at least until Wednesday. We'll keep updating with more information, but good, all of our toilets will be flushing again. I think that's important, so. We're gonna get back to our meeting here at 7:38. On to old business, of which we have none. I'll move on to new business. Do we want to move this one down a little bit till Jennifer gets here? Okay, so I'm going to skip forward to new business number 2. We'll come back to 1 talking about the interim ordinance. So number 2, new business, job description for the police sergeant position. And I believe that we do have some updates regarding this. Chief Cop, if you'd like to speak on those, feel free.
So, yes, we have a couple updates. If we go down, it's okay if we skip down to number 3?
I'm good with just about whatever right
Okay.
now. Yep.
Okay, 3. Mr. Adams, Anthony Adams withdrew his application for,
Okay.
so for consideration, so, for police sergeant, part-time sergeant. He had a more lucrative offer, so.
Okay, so is the part-time police sergeant position, do we want to keep that, or was that something that we were kind of specifically doing unique to the situation? Or we-
It was, the part-time police sergeant position was unique to this situation, as I recall. I know that Jennifer could probably speak more to that, but,
I would agree, it was unique to the situation at this moment, so I would say there's not really much more discussion that we should need to add on it at this time,
Okay,
in my opinion.
yeah, I would
that was
agree.
my understanding too. Any other comments, thoughts on that?
That pretty much sums it up, I think.
Okay,
Unique to the situation.
okay, so number 2, we really don't need to discuss the job description because it's no longer relevant due to number 3, which is the hiring recommendation. So seeing as that is withdrawn, then we can move on to block party. Well, so do we need to make a motion to withdraw the position from, was it actually posted?
No,
Okay, so we don't need a motion
Well,
to
I
do
mean-
anything to do this?
it was posted, but not the sergeant position.
The sergeant's
Right.
position was never posted.
Right,
no.
okay. So I don't know that we need to actually make any formal action on this, do we?
I don't think so, since he withdrew his
Mm-hmm.
application.
Okay. So no action needed. We'll move on to number 4, block party request from resident. I am just going to read this. Looks like request was received from Diane Brooks on 209 Maywood to hold a block party in front of 304 Maywood on August 26th from 3 to 7 p.m. Ms. Brooks is requesting that the street be blocked off at the corner of 3rd and Maywood Avenue to the west side of 304 Maywood. At the present time, we do not have a block party and block party consent form. Attached, you'll find proposed forms for review and approval. Discussion should ensue. If there's an interest in granting it, then we need a motion to that effect. Motion will also be needed to adopt block party rules and regulations and block party consent form, the sample copies which here are in our packets. Creating rules and regulations and an application consent form will allow the staff to process administratively instead of waiting until the next council meeting. That makes sense to me. I did just review these high level. I don't have any concerns with these. Council, any questions, comments?
I'll make a motion to accept those requests for the block party.
I'd second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I do actually have a clarification. Just want to make sure, is your motion to approve this particular request or to approve these forms for this and future requests?
Just both.
Both, okay,
Yeah, I think the form looks good and, I mean, it's a basic application.
okay. Carrie, does that satisfy what you need? Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Carrie, do you need my signature on that one at all? Okay. Next item on the agenda, pricing for annual sidewalk repairs. Each year, Public Works Department prioritizes segments of sidewalks around the community that need to be replaced. Attached is a capital expenditure request from Public Works Director Andrew Hartman for sidewalk repairs. Included with the request is pricing from Clint Adams Concrete for sidewalk repairs totaling $11,400. We have $20,000 budgeted in the 2023 budget. For this purpose, staff is requesting that the contractor and Public Works Director Hartman communicate the timeline for the sidewalk repairs to City Hall in advance of the repairs taking place so the information can be shared with residents. Motion is needed to approve the above described request. I'll look for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor of approving this request?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. Next item is pricing for the annual tree trimming and removal. Each year, the Public Works Department prioritizes trees to be removed from public property. Last year, we did have grant funds available through the DNR. Unfortunately, this year we do not. They were very limited. We didn't get any award funding. Staff will be applying for funding as it comes available in future years. Attached is a departmental expenditure request from Public Works Director Andrew Hartman to trim and remove trees at Lake Eagle Park. Included with the request is pricing obtained from Melquires. Am I saying that right?
Melcher.
Melcher? Looks like Melquire. Okay, sorry. Melchers, totaling $9,800. There was $20,000 budgeted. Of the amount budgeted, $13,300 will remain for tree trimming for other services in the parks. Motions needed to approve the above described departmental request and pricing from Melchers for tree trimming and removal at Lake Eagle Park. I'll look for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you to the Tater Days Committee underneath, I'm sorry, we have new business. Sorry, looking at my old agenda. New number 7 was the snowplow request from Public Works Director Hartman. I think we knew about this need previously, but we finally did get some pricing here. $10,500.55. It is a capital outlay expenditure. It is replacement equipment for the new F-250. We only have one quote here before us because it's the only place we can get a plow in the area, so we're a little limited there. Any questions, concerns on this one, or I'd be happy to take a motion to approve the snowplow purchase.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
I think the only question I would have is timing of it, assuming that it will be ready for winter. But I know he's not here to be able to answer that, so just
We can follow up on that.
making sure that it's ready to go.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, the next new item, number 8, this is regarding Freedom Security. Mike Bales, president of Freedom Security and Surveillance, has requested an extension for the start of construction on his purchase agreement. Currently, the deadline is September 29th, and he would like to extend it 1 month out to October 29th. The city is aware and has been in communication and is working with Mr. Bales on this. I think this is kind of a no-brainer, and this would give him the time to kind of button some things up. So, any questions, concerns, or I'd be happy to take a motion to approve that 1 month extension.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. We have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion?
So he is gonna be following the correct procedures to get the 2 lots combined and all that fun stuff that we're working through?
All the communications I've seen, that's what the plan is. You just need a little more time to do that. I believe that if this doesn't happen by that extension, then we would be kind of back to where we were,
3 years ago.
yeah, yep, exactly. All right, all in favor of the extension to October 29th?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we are on to other. Thank you to the Tater Days Committee. I know this was something I brought up at the end of our last meetings and council member reports. I'm gonna check the packets. I'm not sure if anyone else maybe is aware of what was being proposed or what the plans were on this. We might need to wait for Jennifer on this one. Yeah, I think Jennifer was planning on talking to this because I don't have anything in the packet. So we will, I guess no action can be taken. I'll just say that we are working on a thank you to the Tater Days Committee, and we'll have more information soon. Carrie, could we check and see, or Chief, could you see if Jennifer could join us? Just for, I want to talk the ordinance. That's the last item we have before her report. Thank you.
Does, well, while she's coming in, if we look back at the ordinance,
Mm-hmm.
does section 3A answer that question that Tim was asking about with individuals, establishment, organization, or business not engaging in the retail sale?
I think Tim brought up a great point. I think you're bringing up a good point too.
But does that, I mean, does that cover what he was asking or not?
I think the intent, it's a lot, it's like the Oxford comma coming out here. But this is really specific to sales. It's commercial. It is retail business. However, related to the sales, testing, manufacturing, cultivating, growing. Now, is that all commercial cultivating or commercial growing? I think that's the intent. That's my understanding.
But if you go
And
to page 96,
yeah.
if we're adopting that interim ordinance,
Mm-hmm.
does section 3A
Mm-hmm.
answer that?
No new individual, establishment, organization, or business may engage in the retail sale or distribution of cannabis products, including products used in any part of the plant, yada, 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 okay?
Because then B goes into the growing and
Mhm.
testing and everything, so I mean, that covers it.
Yeah, I think this is fine. I believe what Tim was referring to is the very beginning, where it just really does say growing, cultivating. We could be more clear, I think, in how we say it, that it's the commercial or growing for commercial use. Thank you, Administrator Bromlin, for being here. We're struggling, but we're kind of getting by.
Okay, I was just trying to review and catch up here on the question. So, just to recap, you're wanting to know if we could change the wording to not include like growing for business.
so Mayor
purposes.
Oranger had a question about, basically for individual use, growing in your backyard. Now, my understanding is the intent of this was just for commercial and retail. This is not about personal use. I don't think
Yeah.
we have any ability
I think
to
that was
do
the
that.
intent here as far as,
Yeah.
businesses in Eagle Lake, so.
Right.
I
The
could
way
look
it's
further
worded,
into.
Really does already say that. It's silent on the
yeah.
personal garage.
I mean, and that's just it. We don't have any,
So if it's silent, then it defaults back to the state.
exactly.
statutes.
We don't have any ability to talk about it really or make decisions on it. But I think it was just more clarification that this is really about retail. This is not about personal property use. Yeah.
When you adopt, if you adopt it, the moratorium this evening, you could add that into your motion.
Oh,
Yeah.
that clarification?
Yep.
Okay.
So then we'd want to maybe add or ask our city attorney to tweak, so section 1F. To regulate, restrict, or prohibit land uses within its jurisdiction to protect public safety, health, welfare, specifically authorize the city to allow to undertake a study to determine whether to adopt any regulations, restrictions, including site and locations related to the sales, testing, manufacturing. I mean, that all screams commercial, right? But then you say cultivating and growing. That could be commercial or personal. So I just
Right.
think it just needs to be
I'm sorry, I
clear.
don't know the answer. I don't think we're
Yeah.
gonna come to that answer tonight, so I think my recommendation without having legal counsel here is to just, when you make that note, when you adopt.
Yeah,
if you
just that we'd
adopt
want it
it.
clarified that it's commercial.
Yep, I agree.
I think that was the only, so 1F and then Councilmember Rorich, you had 3A, right? I think those were the areas that just needed the clarification. Council, any other questions or comments on the actual moratorium language?
Well, it's definitely something we can put in place and we can refine as we go, as we learn more information, so. I'm satisfied with passing it and then adding that note that it's, you know, that's for commercial only.
So to publish a summary of the moratorium ordinance, city council must approve doing so by a 4/5 vote. Do we want to do that before that clarifying language?
I guess I'd leave that up to you guys. I wasn't
Yeah.
anticipating that question before the meeting, so I wasn't able to look
Yeah.
into it. So,
I mean, I would support passing this with just that clarifying language that this is about commercial retail. Would anyone like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion to approve it with that clarification.
Thank
I'll
you.
second it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
We need a roll call it.
Oh, we got a roll call.
Oh, yeah, let's roll call.
Mr. Steinberg,
Yes.
Mrs. Rurich,
Yes.
Mr. Whittington,
Yes.
Mayor Norton.
Yes. Okay, so Jennifer, we skipped all around, but we are actually down to the city administrator report.
okay. Let's see here. All right, so we've got the upcoming Music on Parkway, August 17th, and we decided as a committee to move it to Lake Eagle Park due to the water tower rehab project and just site restoration work still being completed. We also have an upcoming outdoor movie event on the Friday, the 18th at Eagle Lake Elementary School. I include the year-to-date expenditure and revenue report as of July 31st. If you guys have any questions on any of those line items, just let me know. I did reach out to LJP to kind of follow up to before they had mentioned a possibility of doing a curbside cleanup in the future, and so I just asked, is that something that's even a possibility for fall? Typically, when we did have curbside cleanups, it was in the spring. And they said, nope, there's no option for a modified curbside pickup for the fall cleanup, but they are, going to be looking into a modified curbside cleanup for spring of 2024. So more information to come on that. I know it's important to our residents, and, so we'll see what we can get with that. And then just the Park Pavilion construction timeline, Bolton & Mank, our engineer, was doing a structural engineer review, and provide feedback back to the contractor. And so I've been told by the contractor that if everything goes as planned, should be able to start construction hopefully in September. And then park bathrooms, we appreciate the help of the park board. They've been taking turns locking up the park bathrooms. We don't have an officer on duty, so that's been very helpful. And then just a reminder, tomorrow night we have a budget work session at 6 o'clock, and then before that we've got the police staffing discussion at 5 o'clock. And then maybe if I'll just give a quick update kind of on our water situation here. So we were not anticipating any sort of an outage. It was unexpected to all of us. Public Works had already gone home for the day. I was out of town at meetings. And as soon as we were made aware of the situation, we followed the process that we need to follow. And so unfortunately, it does take some time to update the city website, Facebook page, talk to Minnesota Department of Health, notify the media. So we tried to do the best job we can, and I'm sure we're not going to please everybody. But basically where we go from here, now that power has been restored, water service is back, we, as a precautionary measure, are required by Minnesota Department of Health to issue a boil water advisory. And so that is a precautionary measure. It doesn't necessarily mean that our water is contaminated, but we have to assume it is until we get test results back saying that it's not. Public Works will be doing testing. They'll take the samples tomorrow morning first thing as soon as the lab is open, and then we have to wait 24 hours to get the results. So best case scenario, hopefully we'll be able to lift the boil water advisory on Wednesday, but it'll have to stay in effect until we get the go ahead to do that. So we will try to notify the gas stations and Eagle's Nest, and we'll have to notify daycares as well too, try to reach as many people as possible. And if you guys have any other ideas on how to get the word out to people that maybe don't subscribe to city newsletter, Facebook, website. We did also work with, we were on the phone with the Sheriff's Department tonight. They did issue a code red for us with our boil water advisory too. So hopefully we're trying to get the word out as much as possible. I just want to say thank you to Chief Kopp, Public Works Director Andrew. It was just really quick action. I appreciate all your help, and we apologize for the inconvenience to residents, but it's, hopefully we'll be able to lift that ban here, or not the ban, the drinking water advisory as soon as possible. So I just want to give you guys an update on that. And I apologize for missing most of the meeting here.
No apologies necessary. Thank you. Thank everyone. I walked in here and it was Grand Central Emergency Station. It was wonderful. Andrew probably had just gotten home, I think.
Can I mention too, that is the other thing I feel bad about. It was impossible for us to answer the phones because we were on the phone with the agencies we needed to notify, we're required to. And so, if residents are upset we didn't answer the phone, it's simply because there's just not enough manpower to do that. So
I picked up a few. Sorry,
Thank
folks.
you. Thank you.
No, I commend. I think everyone did an amazing job, and the fact of the matter, this happened 3-4 hours ago, and people have power restored, people have water restored. I think a boil ban is. It could be much worse. I think great job, everyone. So thank you.
But I will say one thing that maybe we want to look into, and I won't have it for tomorrow's budget work session, but Carrie and I were just talking about this maybe a week ago. I've thought about before is we can use Code Red, but maybe we want to get our own notification system so we can send out text messages. But people have to subscribe, just like our city emails. If they don't subscribe, they're not going to get the information. So anyways.
Just for my own clarification, is this a little bit of the perfect storm? That if this wasn't the middle of the water tower project, no one would even notice,
Yep,
right?
Exactly. So that's exactly right, Lisa, and I think that's Something to be noted is that the reason why a normal power outage wouldn't have caused this is because we're offline right now and we're relying on the well pressure for our water. And because of the power outage and the well lost power, that's what happened. So, yeah, under normal circumstances, if the tower was online, this would not be an issue.
So all of the stars aligned.
Pretty much.
That's
Yep.
just great. Thanks
Well,
again to
I would-
everyone.
I would echo what Lisa said. I think staff did a great job and let everybody know and thanks
Yeah.
for.
The guys will be working into the night here, so I'll let them know, thank
I
you.
think that's what people on social media have to remember, and I wish we would've got a picture of all of you guys in there. I don't think you could fit another person in Jennifer's office.
No,
And I know there was people on social media that were wondering what, what was going on behind the scenes, and it was a lot of hard work, so kudos to all of that.
yeah. Yeah, I assume it's been shared out to the non-city community page by now, but if not,
That was something I was going to get to. I got it to the KYC, they already got it up already, sent it to the
Okay.
newspaper. So did those first, and yep, we'll get it on the community page next, absolutely.
awesome.
Thank-
Thank you all. All right, council member reports.
I have nothing.
Anyone? I think we're all just shot from this night, aren't we? Yeah, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Thanks, everyone.